talking about how to get funding from anywhere. Now, pref- preference. This is I'm talking about in the United States. I'm currently in Panama, but talking about how to get funding from just about anywhere in the United States. These are the steps that you're going to want to take before you ever decide to complete an application. All right. So I know everyone's probably in the middle of transition. You're leaving work, you're in traffic or whatever. So you guys will see this when you can see it. All right. So now let's talk about it. How to get prepared for funding, how to know that you're ready for funding with and without good credit. So we're going to talk about two things, with and without good credit. Okay. So let's talk about your going for funding the easiest, fastest way. The easiest, fastest way, that's right, it's a little kid running. Easiest, fastest way to get funding is I'm going to break it all down. This is exactly what your credit profile needs to look like. Okay. First and foremost, you want to make sure you don't have any negatives on your personal credit. So no lates, no collections, no bankruptcies, no charge-offs, no evictions, no repos, none of that. Also, you want to make sure that you have on-time payment history for all of your accounts. I know things happen, but you still need to make sure that you have 100% on-time payment history. Now, a little later, I'm going to go over a couple of little caveats to what I'm saying, because lenders can bend these rules based on a couple of other factors. Okay, we're going to keep going through all these different factors. It's a lot of different factors, okay, depending on the situation, but we're going to go through all of them. Hopefully y'all can hear me. It's super windy out here, so my apologies on that. Okay, so along with no negatives, no late payments, your credit card usage, to get the maximum amount of funding, you want to have less than 30%. Less than 30%. Okay. Anything over 30%, you can still get approvals, but they will be low approvals. We're talking about $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $8,000. It's not going to be an approval that you're going to be excited about. Okay. So to get higher limits, you're going to want to make sure that your credit card usage is low. All right. If we're talking about, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000, we're talking about having credit card usage 10% or less. I would max it out at 30% or less for those who, to give yourself a little bit of grace. Okay. Of course, you want to have some age. I literally have had conversations with people who have a 750. Okay. A 750, but it wasn't a strong 750 because they didn't have age. Their credit report was only had an average age of about 1 year and 10 months. That's not enough to go for maximum funding. This person in particular was actually getting denied because they didn't have enough age on the credit report. So you want to make sure that you have at least 2 years credit. Okay. 2 years credit history at least. Anything under that, don't even worry about it. Go ahead, keep adding age onto your credit profile, maybe add a trade line, get an authorized user or something like that, and then try and circle back around for it. All right. Next thing is having a less inquiries. All right, less inquiries. So I would say when you're going for funding, 4 or less is good. Once you're over 4, it's like damn near automatic denial. I'm going to be honest. And the crazy thing about inquiries is even if everything else on your profile is strong, I mean, I watched the show, if you guys know it, it's called Beat the Bush. It's this Asian guy who is an engineer. He makes 6 figures. He retired, whatever. But he did a live example. He applied for about 8 cards in a day. And by the 8th inquiry, it was an automatic denial. My man had an 825 when he did this. His score dropped about 10 points. So even if you have perfect credit, you can still get denied for having too many inquiries in a short period of time. Okay, so make sure that you have no more than 4 hard inquiries. And to be even more specific, I would say no more than 4 hard inquiries within a 6-month period. All right. Now, some people will talk about a couple of caveats with hard inquiries. Some folks will say, well, a hard inquiry doesn't affect you after 1 year. There's a technicality right there. All right. For all my credit people that's in the world, right, that's listening. These hard inquiries don't affect your FICO score after a year. That's totally different from whether or not you're going to get approved for a credit product. Inquiry, too many inquiries, even if they're a year old, can still be factored into the underwriting and the approval process. Okay. So whether or not it affects your FICO score is completely separate from whether or not an underwriter is going to approve you. So definitely keep that in mind. Okay. So that's how you want your personal profile to look before you go for funding. Okay. If it looks any different than that, you're taking chances. You can't guarantee that you're going to get approved if your profile doesn't look like that. In the previous example, beat the bush. He had an 825 credit score. He was denied because he had too many hard inquiries. All right. The score doesn't matter. Your credit profile is what matters. That's why I broke down these data points. Something else that's super important that it's ironic. I didn't realize, we had to mention this to people. But please, if you're going for funding, unfreeze the credit report, people. Unfreeze it, take off the fraud alert. Okay? You are going to get denied because they cannot access your credit report. So please make sure it's open, it's unfrozen. And, if you need to, log on to each individual credit bureau, Equifax.com, TransUnion.com, Experian.com, and unfreeze or check to verify that there are no fraud alerts and there are no freezes on your credit report. Just last night, I spent 2 hours with a client, and it turns out after we submitted these apps, he was denied because he still had fraud alerts. This is after waiting over a week for these fraud alerts to be removed. He was working on the fraud alerts prior to working with me. So he told me everything was good to go, but we wasted 2 hours, okay, getting on all the docs together, double checking, looking at everything just to be like, oh, it's a fraud alert. Can't do anything, right? So absolutely, you want to make sure of that. Okay. So that's what your credit report needs to look like. However the credit score turns out, that's how the credit score is going to turn out. Another thing that is important is the frequency in which you apply, right? So if you just went for a funding sequence, and let's say you had mixed results, if you just went for a funding sequence like 30 days ago, you're going to want to give yourself some time. You're going to want to give yourself about 6 months in the garden, okay? Because even if you're denied, these applications sit in their systems for about 30 days, and then the system is kind of like fleshed out, okay? Because they have to make room for more data. You know how the game goes, right? So make sure all of that is in place. The next part, so that's personal credit. We got that out the way. Next thing, when we're talking about going for funding, please, 3 things. We're going to need these 3 things. Make sure you got your LLC. Make sure your LLC is registered with your state or whatever state you're doing business in. Thirdly, you want to have a bank account, a business bank account, not just a bank account, not a bunch of personal bank accounts, a business bank account. These 3 things are the absolute most basic things that any lender is going to be looking at when they are considering the age of a business. Okay. This includes even if you are buying another business, they're still going to be looking at these things. And they may even, if we're talking about purchasing other businesses, shelf corps, things of that nature, there's still even going to be something else they're going to be looking at is when the business was transferred from one person or one owner to the new owner. Okay, so keep that in mind. Some institutions will factor that in, and some institutions reset the clock when that transfer happens. So just keep that in mind when looking at using shelf corps or other age corps for funding. Okay, just keep that in mind. Something to look out on with these bank accounts, right? So we know the three things: LLC, you're registered with your state, and you got your bank account. Okay, I didn't say an EIN because having an EIN is a given. You cannot register with your state. You cannot properly set up an LLC if you don't have an EIN, right? Also, I do have a complete video that walks you through how to form your LLC so that from day one it is fundable. It's actually called the LLC checklist. Check it out. It's in my videos, and I also have a whole business credit playlist that you guys can check out. So with your business bank account is super important, right? You want to make sure that you are running cash revenue deposits through that bank account. I can't stress how important this is, because revenue through your business can sometimes supersede blemishes on your personal credit. Okay, especially if you're going for like a loan, like an SBA loan, if you're going for business lines of credit, or if you're even working with a banker, okay, or a broker, loan officer, what have you. Showing that revenue through your business bank account can supersede any blemishes on your personal credit. It totally happens. Just for instance, right? We're talking, let's say if we're talking about a mortgage. They actually have something that they nicknamed the entrepreneur mortgage. It's a bank statement only mortgage where they don't even check your personal credit or your taxes. They go by your bank account. Let's see what your revenue is. Okay, cool. Do you have cash reserves to pay on this mortgage for at least 6 months? Okay, cool. We can move forward with offering you some kind of mortgage, right? So that's how powerful, that's how important it is to make sure you're doing revenue. I didn't put the phone on do not disturb. Hold on. Boom. All right. So, my bad. That threw me off. Right. So let me know if y'all heard these things before. Okay. If you're already familiar with this, because I speak to a lot of newer entrepreneurs who want to get the funding, but they're not showing the revenue through the bank account. Put those deposits in. Send out the invoices, y'all. Send them out. Okay? Send them out. Get those deposits in, whether it's through PayPal. You can Zelle, and you can have people Zelle your business account, right? You can connect business accounts to Cash App. However you want to show your revenue coming into your bank account, make sure that you're showing it going into the bank account. I would say at least $5,000. All right. I personally work with various funders that can get you some kind of funding as long as you can show at least $5,000 going through your business bank account, not the personal, y'all. Business. If you want your business funded, then we need that business to make some money. All right. No one is giving money to a business that's not making money. All right. Now, let's say you're in the process of rebuilding your credit, but you still have a business. Maybe you got a food truck, you got a restaurant, right? You do construction, you do home renovations, you got a cleaning company, something like that. And you're like, you know what, Jamal, right now I can't rely on my personal credit. So right now, going for zero interest business credit card is not really on the list because my credit ain't strong yet. My personal credit is in the rebuilding phases. Cool, no problem. What we can do is focus on making sure your business is properly structured. right? Making sure your business is properly structured. We covered the first three things. That LLC, you're registered with the state. You have a business bank account that has cash flow going through it. You also have your email. You have your business phone number. You have your business website, right? You already have a business address because you needed a business address to register it and to open up your bank account. Okay. What else do we need? You want to make sure that at the very least, you're avoiding risky industries. Now, every industry has a way to get funded, but if we're talking about max funding, you want to avoid the riskier industries, right? Anything dealing with finance, credit repair, porn, guns, vices in general, right? So the next thing is that when we're talking about preparing for funding, you want to be able to show at least 3 months of revenue going through your business bank account. And that's a minimum of $5,000. Now, if you want to up it up, the more money you can show going through that business bank account, the absolute better it is for you. Here's why. A lender will typically give you 10 to 30% in that range, could be 10 to 15, but 10 to 30% of your gross revenue. So based on the 3-month bank statements that you provide, the underwriter can actually do projections of, okay, how much is this company going to make over the next 12 months? Okay, cool. They've been showing 15,000, between 10 to 15,000 for the past 3 months. Okay, cool. So we're looking at 120 to 150 a year. Okay, cool. That means we can give him 15% of 120. That's from one bank, right? And that, let's say that's on a term loan or even a line of credit. And the nice thing is that these limits can go up, right? Some banks are more generous. You may qualify for a $50,000 line of credit if you can show 10 to 15,000 in revenue. Now, this is if you have low personal credit and you're solely relying on the strength of your business. Another thing is that the age of your business. So along with the age of the bank account and you being able to show this for 3 months, you want to have a business, I would say, that's at least 6 months old, 6 months old and more. A lot of business are going to say a year or 2 years, right? But at the bare minimum, we're talking about 6 months. Okay. The older the company, the more money you can qualify for. So what I mentioned before is like minimums. Minimum 6 months, minimum 3 months bank account, minimum showing $5,000 in revenue. The older, the better. The more money going through the bank account, the better. Okay. And this is if your personal credit is being rebuilt. Okay. So with that, that's how you can leverage your business. That's a high cash flowing business and still be able to get access to funding. Okay. Even with the SBA, they have things like microloans that are for new business owners who may not have the absolute strongest of credit or who may not have the absolute highest of revenue, because they know that the point of the microloan is to get you started or to help you cover some routine expenses, i.e. materials to get started, i.e. hiring employees. Okay. Another important thing is documentation. I know it's important. I know that we love no doc loans, no doc products. Here's the thing about no docs. You'll need good personal credit. You will need good personal credit to maximize a no doc loan. You'll need a good personal credit report, and you'll need a pretty substantial relationship with a bank. If you have weak personal credit, but you have strong cash flow through your business, right? So it's a give and take. Remember this, y'all. I want y'all to remember this. There are 3 C's to lending. Any of these 3 C's can get you some money. And this is how you're able to get funding from anywhere. you're going to have good credit, whether it's good personal credit or good business credit. You're going to have good cash flow, or you're going to have good collateral. Good collateral is anything of value. That could be your car. It could be your house. It could be another business. Okay. Elon Musk absolutely leveraged Tesla and took a loan against the value of Tesla itself, the company, to purchase Twitter, now known as X. Right? You can do the same thing if you have a retirement account. You can do the same thing if you have a brokerage account. You can leverage and borrow against any collateral or anything of value, and then take that money and use it to grow your business or for a different type of investment, right? Those are the 3 C's. So you're going to need one of these 3 to get some money. All right. I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of folks don't have any of the 3, but they're looking for some opportunities. And we need one of these 3. If you don't have credit, go build up that cash flow. If you don't have the cash flow, go build up the credit. In my opinion, it's easier to build up credit than to build up cash flow, especially if you haven't learned how to sell to people or promote or market a product. It's a lot easier to just pay my stuff on time, repair my credit, send out the disputes, etc. Because I've done that. How I got into this game is that literally TransUnion wiped out my credit because they marked me deceased, literally deceased. There was a date of death on my credit report while I was still alive, and it wiped out my credit. So I know for a fact it's easier to go from absolutely no credit, being dead credit wise, to getting to 800 than it is trying to build a freaking multi-million-dollar company. Okay, so one or the other. But if your skill set lies in making money, absolutely leverage that cash flow so you can get more. Lastly, if you have collateral, if you are a 9-to-5er and you have retirement accounts, you have a 401k, you have an IRA, you have a Roth IRA, you have a Roth 401k, or you just have a brokerage account, you can borrow against all of these accounts. All of them are considered collateral. Depending on the lender, you can collateralize it, and they will give you a loan based on the value of these different investment accounts. Okay. So I literally gave y'all the blueprint on how to get funding from anywhere, anyhow. If you don't have good credit, how to build what your credit needs to look like. If you have good credit, what to do. If you have a business, if you don't have a business, and you don't have good credit, you can use these brokerage accounts, right? Let me know. Hold on. Let me check the comments real quick. Let me know if this was helpful, y'all. If y'all got any feedback, let me know if I was on point. You know what I mean? Would love to hear from y'all. So 300 credit line should only use $30. So with this question, I get this question a whole lot. All right. So when it comes to your credit usage is based solely on your statement date. All right. You may have heard of the 15-3 rule. That's cap. Nobody cares about that. It's not a thing. Maybe your creditor does. Your actual bank that gave you a credit card. They may like the fact that you pay them twice a month. I pay my bills twice a month because basically I got that habit from when I worked the job. When I was working the job, I got paid 2 times a week. So, hey, I paid my bills. I broke them up into halves. I paid them 2 times a month. Not 2 times a week, 2 times a month, right? So that's what I did. But it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters when it comes to a credit card is that your balance is as close to zero as possible by the statement date. So if you use if you have a $300 credit card, just make sure it's as close to zero as possible by the statement date. That's it. I can't make it any more simple than that, because you can do something to a little more advanced strategy, right? Now, we spoke about funding. I'm going to give y'all another little tip on how to get more funding by way of an automatic credit limit increase. So Three Ninjas, this is a thanks for asking this question, right? It's windy as a mug. Hopefully y'all can still hear me through the mic. So what you can do, let's say you have a $300 limit on an unsecured credit card. How can you grow this thing? So you're going to do something called credit cycling. It's simple. You're going to max the card out because it's only $300. You're going to max that joint out and pay it off multiple times a month because it's literally only $300. Like the average person, it called like rent by itself is about $2,000 in America, $2,500, something like that. Groceries, you can go, if you have a family of four, you're going to spend $300 at the supermarket, easy. Like that's a no-brainer. So use that card as your everyday card. Swipe it, max it out, pay it off. Swipe it, max it out, pay it off multiple times a month because it's only $300. You don't need to wait until the due date to pay off your credit card. Okay. Pay it off. I would say do that like 2-3 times a month. Make sure that it's zeroed out or as close to zero as possible by the statement date so that it doesn't impact your credit score. What will happen is after a couple of months of doing this, your bank is going to give you a credit limit increase. If it, let's say it's like American Express will triple your credit limit without you asking. If it's something like, let's say Navy Federal may double it. They might triple it. Sometimes they even do more. But I would say at least they will at least triple your credit limit. Okay. And that, of course, I count a credit limit increase as funding because it's giving you more available credit. One more thing for everyone that's here now. When we're talking about going for funding, when we're looking at your actual profile, we want to see high limits on your credit profile. No bank is going to give somebody a $50,000 credit limit if the highest credit limit on your credit report is $500. It's not going to happen because they have what's called comparable credit. Okay. They literally compare what Chase is looking at what American Express gave you. American Express is looking at what Bank of America gave you. They're comparing notes like, oh, okay, you gave them this amount. Okay, I feel comfortable giving them this amount. So before you go for trying to go for $100, $200, $300,000 in funding, you want to have at least 50 to let's say 20 to $60,000 already showing on your credit report. And this is 20 to 60,000 in revolving lines of credit. As always, the more you have, the better. Okay. So comparable credit really falls in line with that. So we covered a lot of different things. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments. Thanks for everybody who stopped by and the likes. And if this was helpful, just let me know. Love doing these type of things. And yeah, I'm gonna relax, take some time, enjoy the breeze. And like I said, leave a comment, check out the descriptions. I got links, trainings. If you're in the process of getting yourself together for funding and you need some coaching through that, definitely hit the link. You can do a 30-minute or even an hour-long consultation with me. More than happy. If you need even more guidance or mentorship throughout the entire process, then we can definitely set up a consultation so we can discuss what that looks like. That's everything I got for you guys. Like, subscribe, share this with other people, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.